Now, strong asks. Asks are super important to like any kind of like phone banking, whatever it may be. Um, Essentially, like I think the gist of it is that like a really good ask is something that conveys a lot of urgency. Generally, an ask, a successful ask, is delivered with like a really strong activist tone. And even though it is a question, it's usually like said as a statement, if that makes sense. Like you don't really feel the question mark in a good ask. There's like this thing that one of the organizers that I used to volunteer for would refer to it as not using like Midwestern uptones. So it's like the difference between like saying something like, "Can you join us?" to "Can you join us?" There's a very distinct difference between the two of those, and I think what it really is that when you're on the phone, I think it's very easy to think about how like it's our words that convince people to do things. The reality is that like your words are definitely important, but there's on like a very like scientific level, there's only like so many words that somebody can retain in a minute. I think it's like 100. And what that means is that like a lot of words get forgotten or don't necessarily go through the way that we want them to. What's a lot more important is tone. If you can say something with like the right kind of tone, it's going to take you really far. So most of what this is about is just tone and how we say these things. And another thing about a strong ask is that a strong ask is usually short. Now, as an example, going back to our friend Batman, this time I actually have two examples. I have an example of a weak ask and a strong ask. So, a weak ask would be this: Batman is dangling somebody from off of a building, and he says, "Where were the other drugs going?" And it's not really a good ask because there's two problems with this. First off, there's a lot of quotation marks going on here. It's too much. You don't really want that when you're asking someone something. And it's also just like a very open ended question. There's a lot of directions that that could go in. It's not the best. Now, a good example um, is when he's looking up at Superman in a different movie, um, and he's saying, "Do you bleed?" That's a great ask because it's not really a question. It's like a statement in form of a question. It's very blunt and to the point, and it makes itself very clear, like what it means. Um, and that's the gist of it.